Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session today. It will be a pleasure to be inviting and having with me on this seminar series Paul. Paul Graham is a technical consulting manager at Oracle, and he is a visiting fellow with the University of Suffolk and in the Digital Future Institute. And it will be great to see him present on his and share with us his expertise. Paul, I'll leave floor is yours. So
Thank
when
you,
you're ready,
Kaki.
please make a start. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm, as Kaki has said, I'm with Oracle Industries. I specialize in telecommunications, but as I'm in industries, I cover everything from communications to construction to retail to health, finance, and other verticals. What I'm demonstrating today is something we're introducing and we're working on. Particularly, it's been brought into Oracle 23 AI, the latest version of the database, and that's the AI concepts, particularly around something called vector search, RAG, retrieval augmented generative, and how this comes together to build things like AI agents. This is all in the tech press at the moment. 2025 is going to be the year of the AI agent. It even has its own name now. I think they call it a generative AI. It's taken the concepts of the previous few years, things like ChatGPT, LLMs, and making it more specific for certain industries and building agents to do things like customer care or help us with our work. And this seminar today will go through some of the initial concepts and lead all the way through to describing how you can build an AI agent using these tools. And I end with a tutorial, which I'm going to provide. It's provided by Oracle. It's in public domain. It's very interesting and well worth going through yourselves. It's not that difficult to build an AI agent for your specific tasks or industries. And once you know the steps, and once you have the tools to be able to do that. So leading on, so that is today's session and today's seminar. So what will we cover? Okay, I'm going to do a brief introduction to AI, more about AI is a very broad topic, specifics of what's required today for the AI agent. What is AI? General concepts, of course, Gen AI, LLMs. The tools available, there's specific development processes, things like RAG, which is retrieval augmentation generation. That's how you make the AI, the general AI, more specific to your needs, and vector search. And we end with an example on how to build this. And I can give you a link to a workshop and you can go away and have a go at this yourselves. Very straightforward. Okay, so if we kick off with the AI overview, right? We all hear about AI at the moment. It's in the news. It's gone beyond tech now. It's in the general domain. It seems to be the thing we're heading for. What is it? Well, we think it's a simulation of human intelligence in machines. That's the image we all have. Science fiction stretches it to things like Terminators, and they're going to come and get us. But really, at the moment, it's about how can we develop software that acts and behaves like humans. The AI you're familiar with at the moment and everybody's using is things like ChatGPT. That's really something that's been trained on the internet, understands language, it's a large language model, and it's called a transformer because it transforms, say, a prompt into a piece of text. That's why it's a transformer. Give it a question and it transforms, does the analysis and converts it into a piece of text. And then you can prompt it and question it. Fundamentally, it's quite stupid, but it's so huge, the model's so huge that it's able to appear to be thinking and working with you It just has all the information available to it. Right? They're now discussing advanced like general intelligence, where it's going to think and become matching human intelligence. There's predictions from 2 to 3 years to never, depending on who you talk to and read. And the super intelligence, where the thing becomes far more clever than humans and then takes us over. Right? The type of AI we're discussing today is the LLMs, the language models, and how we can utilize them to build intelligent agents. So what are the key concepts? Well, broadly speaking, AI can be broken down into several domains. It's much more complex than this, but these are the kind of the broad categories that we can discuss. There's more machine learning, and where it's collecting up lots of data, things like clustering, and it's more about statistical analysis of numbers. I mean, AI is about numbers essentially. But then we've got machine learning, deep learning with neural nets, and then you move on to things like vision, taking neural nets and basically matching. The common thing seems to be pictures of cats, identifying cats. You know, you train a model on loads and loads of cat pictures, and then you put up a picture. Is this a cat? Is this a dog? Is this something else? Right. That's the kind of deep learning with vision. We've then got natural language processing. That's the LLMs. It's all based on a paper from about 5 years ago. It's called Attention is All You Need. It came out of Google. Basically a spin on the Beatles title, All You Need Is Love, but attention is all you need. And it's a way of analyzing text beyond just a few words. It's basically a way of contextualizing text, so then you can interact with it with the prompts, and it gives you back text and in a contextual format. That's the LLMs that you're familiar with, things like ChatGPT and generative AI. Final thing is reinforcement learning, and that's for things like self-driving cars, where say it's rewards and punishments. When the AI behaves correctly, you tell it it's correct, you reward it. When it's doing something wrong, you punish it, so don't do that again. So if you're driving around and the car drives in front of another car, you say don't do that again, don't go in front of cars. If it makes a correct left turn, you say yep, that's correct. That's simplified, but that's what reinforcement learning is all about. If you want to train a robot on a production line, you can show the robot how to handle things using reinforcement learning, and then you can train it to do the operations. But for today's seminar, it's more about natural language processing, how to adapt the response from LLMs, how you want them more specifically to build an AI agent. And the tools that Oracle provide, things like vector search and RAG, they help you do that. And we'll discuss that a bit later. So what are the applications of AI in various fields? Let's say I'm in Oracle Industries, and we are looking right across the board on how to apply AI to everything. We have the advantage that the Oracle apps are built on Oracle Tech, Oracle Database, and now with things like vector search and AI tools built into the database, when you take an Oracle application built on the database, you almost get that for free. It's built in. You just have to do the plumbing to make that work. So the industries we're looking at, this healthcare, disease, new drugs, analyzing records, analyzing behaviors to predict problems and illnesses in the future, and then prevention. I think it's something that needs a lot of work. We need to prevent people from becoming ill in the first place, and using AI for prevention is one of the best ways of doing that. Obviously in finance, you come across traders, but there's also fraud detection and customer service. When you go to a bank, you want to build a query. You don't want to go on the website and look through pages and pages of your transactions. You want to build a query and pick out patterns and how you're on your spend and things like that. That's where we could use this technology for banking. And there's retail and e-commerce. So inventory, if you're running a shop or a restaurant, you may want to predict your inventory or see what's popular and all those sort of things, right? How to improve your business. It can help you with that. Manufacturing, we've talked about, robotics on the assembly line, predictive maintenance, and just general quality control, what's going on. Transportation, autonomous vehicles. There's also many things to do with transportation. And then you're leading into EVs, charging cars, and just managing transportation much better. And all these tools can be applied across these industries. And that's the sort of thing we're providing in Oracle. My specific area is communications, but we consider communications to be a bedrock of these things. You don't have communications for the sake of communications. Healthcare, finance, manufacturing, transport, all have some form of communications, and that's built on top of the communications. So what are the tools and libraries we use to build these tools or these applications? There's various tools out there, open sourced. TensorFlow is very common for building deep learning applications. It does like back propagation, neural net training, things like gradient descent, which is a bit more technical, but it's the way you train a model. And you can use these tools to train your specific model, like if you're going to train something to identify pictures of cats, you can use these tools to do that on the vision. And these tools are all widely available. It's not that difficult now. The hard work is done for you. You don't have to build your own neural nets and stuff like that. You just provide the data and do the training. And there's various toolboxes out there to build your AI tools applications. TensorFlow is one of the common ones. Languages. I'm seeing Python is the most common language now for AI because it's good at manipulation of complex data structures that were required for AI. Python, R is more statistical analysis. And then you can use them within these Google Lab and Jupyter Lab. These are the environments you can use to build the apps using these other tools. The example at the end of here, these are Jupyter Labs. You can go in there very easily. Anybody can go in there, sign in, start writing a piece of code. You don't really need to be a developer to run the final workshop at the end. You just copy pieces of code in and build your chatbot. And that's the most important thing. With these tools, it becomes more accessible to anybody who wants to build them. Right? You don't have to be a computer science PhD to build the tools, so to build these applications for yourself anymore. And the key over the next couple of years is going to be, this is going to reach out into all sorts of industries and places in the workplace because it's going to become more accessible. These tools are available, and using the example I'm showing at the end, anybody can build a very specific AI agent to automate their tasks that they want, and that increases productivity. I believe there comes a time with AI agents where people say they want to interact with humans, but actually you can build a very high quality AI agent using these tools, and people would rather deal with that than the humans. So now we go into the kind of the development processes behind building AI applications. Now, in the description at the end, there's kind of two steps. There's a very specific bit you build for your industry, your task, and then there's like a general model we use. Consider something like ChatGPT to be the general model, and OpenAI has already built that for you. You can build specific GPTs, And if you want to build your own model, then you've got to go through a process of collecting data, selecting the algorithm that goes with the model, and then training. Training's not can be quite manual actually process. You take a data set and you sort of carve it into 3 areas. You take an initial training, and if you're going to train something to identify cats, you have lots of pictures of cats, and you eventually tell it this is a cat, and it over thousands of pictures it learns what a cat is. You're then going to test it by putting up these pictures, and it tells you what that picture is of, and you say whether it's correct or not correct. And the final piece is where you actually use the model to identify things, and you kind of go through that process with your model, and that's part of the development process. However, for your agent, you don't have to go through that process because that's already created for you. You have these general models. The one Oracle uses, it's a service, an AI company called Cohere, and it used this Llama model from Facebook, which is similar to the ChatGPT model. And it's made it more accessible. People say, why is Facebook creating these open source models? They're giving everything away. Well, actually, you become part of the training process and development process. So they're playing catch up to companies like OpenAI and using ChatGPT. So I've got a question. How has cloud computing changed how we do AI? Yes, absolutely. It's as you'll see at the tutorial at the end, right? It all becomes very accessible, and it's almost a shock how easy it is to build your own AI now. Within a few minutes, you can go into a cloud computing infrastructure, get the service. You have AI on service, on tap, Cohere, Llama models. You can query it using an open API, and suddenly you've got your AI up and running. Right, so cloud computing has made that accessible. And also, what you need to do the training is the GPUs. Now, we can't all go out and buy our own GPUs and have a cluster of GPUs there. It's in the cloud. It's available on demand, and it becomes a kind of currency. If you want to have access to training AI, then you need the GPU farms, which the large hyperscalers give you access to. If that wasn't available, this becomes impossible. And I'd say, I think there's people out there in computer science and AI that will tell you this stuff's been around for a long time. The concepts aren't that new. However, what is new is cloud infrastructure and the ability to access this for yourself. You can go out now and go to get a GPU cluster and do your own training in a cloud infrastructure. You can spin up instances of the training model and do it for yourself. So yes, cloud computing goes hand in hand with the modern AI. Without cloud computing, you wouldn't be able to do it. It'd be impossible. And it's the real reason why everything's sped up over the last couple of years, and it's become accessible to all of us. All right, so I'm now going to discuss the example, which is implementing RAG is one of the things available for the Oracle database. It's a retrieval augmented generation chatbot using vector search or vector similarity, and then putting it through generative AI LLMs to create your chatbot. Okay, I've got slides with a lot of text, but I need to describe what these things are. So what is a vector? It's turning something into numbers, essentially. If you do facial recognition, you've got distances like between your eyes, nose to forehead, hair to hair, hair to hair. That vectorizes your face, turns it into numbers, and puts it in the database. So if I want to identify somebody, I then can search for them their face in the database. That's a vector search. If I want to look for pictures of cats, I look for proportions of a cat, and I have it in the database. And when I have a camera on animals and it picks a cat, it would do a search on that cat in the database. Say that's a cat. That's a vector search. It can be done with text, images, sound, video. Everything's turned into numbers, into a vector, and then the database lets you search against that. There's a match. Similarity search. So it's a like search, but it lets you match in a database between, say, a piece of text and another piece of text in the database. Like the text has been turned into a vector. It's in the database. You can then search. When you do a lookup, the prompt or the lookup text is vectorized into a number, and then you can match it against a number in the database and put out the text. And that becomes very powerful to be able to do searches like that. How does that help us with our agent? Well, it means we can then match a query to a specific piece of text and get the answer out. And I'll give an example a bit later. Further concepts, LLM. Well, LLMs, large language models. And you've heard of things like ChatGPT. That's a large language model. I'm working on large generic data sets. And this is why vector search works well with large language model and vector embedding. The two go together. And where LLMs are quite generic and broad, the large language model, the vector search can help you drill down to so you get a specific answer. And I'll show you why that's important to the AI chatbot a bit later. And then we've got RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. It's a technique to enhance LLMs with similarity search. So LLMs are very broad. You've got lots of information. It's general language, but you want to do something very specific. So you augment the query to the LLM with a piece of text you've obtained through doing retrieval augmented generation. Okay, so and these are the latest tools from Oracle, and they're built into the database, and what makes it easy to build things like chatbots. And all those domains I talked about: industry, finance, health, retail, construction. They have specific domains which they need their own models for, or information and telecommunications as well. Right, so with the RAG concept and the vector search, you can augment a general LLM model with things which are very specific to the industry or the application. So we're now moving into how do we go about building and using these tools. Well, the first thing is vectorizing the text. So in the tutorial, which I have an example to later on, they take a frequently asked question text for cloud computing and they vectorize it. So you take this big chunk of text and you vectorize it and store it in the database. So when you vectorize it, you turn it into numbers. So the text and the numbers are in the database. So you store this text. And this means you can then do a similarity search against that piece of text. So you can search it and come out something very specific. Now, the example I'm using here is we're going to build an AI agent for broadband, internet broadband. Right? So not everybody are technical experts, and suddenly their broadband stops working at home. Now, okay, they're going to go on the mobile because their broadband's broken, but they're going to go to the website and they're going to put a query in saying my internet is broken. Now, we hope they've logged in, so the service has the context of the person, where they are, their number, these sort of things. Right, so what you do, you take the internet is broken, you vectorize my internet is broken, and you turn it into numbers, and then you do a a vector search in the database, similarity search, and it's going to come up with a list of things that could be the reason why the internet is broken. Right? So one of them is your router's not on. So in the text, it could be lights on the router. Going to check the lights on the router. Now, that might be meaningless to somebody at home who's not technical, right? So there you put lights on the router, you put it through the LLM, which is a large language model, and you give it some context. So you say, I want a prompt to help me explain to this person, this person of a certain demographic. It could be somebody, I won't be too specific, but somebody of age, sex, etc. Put their details in with a prompt and come up with a way of interacting with that person that's going to be easy for them to understand. So the final text, the generative AI comes out with, please examine the lights on the router, which can be found at the bottom right. So you're turning a AI agent query into a specific potential issue, and then you're creating interaction with that person through the LLM, the text. And you can imagine how this could be achieved with any form of problem or query that you might have in your business. So the person can go, thank you, I'll go and check the lights on my router. They come back, they say, oh, the lights on my router are on. And they type that in. And it goes back round again, and the prompt is, okay, my lights are on, but my internet's still broken. And the next thing might be, well, is my router plugged in? Now, how would you describe that? It probably comes back with RJ45 cable is not plugged in, which could be meaningless to lots of people. So RJ45 cable not plugged in, but you then put the prompt into the LLM with context, and it can then give you a better description. Please, could you check the cable on the router? Maybe it can give a picture, explanation. Could you please make sure this is plugged in? And they go when they check. And this is how you could build an interaction. So the prompt creates the potential solutions. You've already have potential solutions in the database. Right? The similarity search gets out the specifics, and then you use that to enhance into the LLM, which has a kind of understanding of the person and how to resolve that problem. And of course, it's going to be dealing with lots of people, so it may build up its own database. It may learn from working with these people as well and fixing problems. So that's a very simple solution. And it's not that difficult to create, right? So I end this with, I've got this link here, which we can make available. The entire workshop on how to build that AI agent is in this link. You can go in, you can set up the environments using Jupyter Books and Python. You can set up service instances with Cohere and LLMs. Set up the database, do the query with the database, and do it for yourself. And who knows what you can come up with doing that. Let's say this is the technology everybody is describing working on at the moment with relation to AI agents and chatbots, and that's how you make them more kind of clever and interesting. Okay, chatbots have existed for a while now, but it's all about making them so they have domain knowledge. That domain knowledge can be built up in the database, and they become much more friendlier to work with the humans. And you could say, okay, people might want to go straight through to a human, but if people get this right and build it correct, people will want to interact with these agents because the agents don't get tired, they don't get upset, they don't lose patience. And if you create quite high quality AI agents and improve the productivity of the businesses. You could say, okay, what's the next step? Well, AI voice is the next step. You could be talking to these agents, and there's ways of turning the text into voice and interacting with them, and the people shouldn't know they are interacting with an agent. The agent should be communicating, it would be polite, and it would have access to all the knowledge it needs to help fix those problems. Okay, so that brings me to the end. That's the 30 minutes. So any questions? Nope, so we're at the end now. So I think that's a thank you very much for listening. Okay, I think at the end
Thanks,
now.
Paul. I'm also getting a bit of delay in between the two moments of you finishing, so we'll sort that out for our next seminar. So because I'm essentially listening to the stream, I can't listen to what you're saying where you are right now. So thank you so much for the great talk and for laying out such an interesting area. I think it'd be lovely to explore that space of how we essentially optimize these large LLMs. Now, I know you cannot hear me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause, write things in, and essentially you should be able to pick up the question from the chat. So bear with me just a second.
Yeah, so the main Oracle tools to be looking out for are it's Oracle 23 AI, where all this is built into the database now. And the AI model that Oracle has a cloud service called OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And within that, within OCI, you have Cohere and the LLM provided using the Llama 2 model. And those are the tools together that work. Oracle also has a product called Apex, which has AI built into it, and that's where you can instruct it to write software as well. So you can use AI all the way through the process. The AI can write your software to then process the agent using the vector search in the database and the LLM provided through the Cohere service in OCI. OCI is Oracle's equivalent of AWS and Google Cloud and Azure. And those services are available. And say it's the same as the yeah. Okay, so the final thing is, which I will put into the I could put into the LinkedIn and let Kaka can also distribute it. Is I've got this link here. Oops. Of the actual how to build your own chatbot workshop. It takes a bit of time to set up. Okay, you can see that there. It takes a bit of time to set up and go through, but I've been through it myself and it's very easy. And I recommend anybody who's interested in this and wants to take it further to go through this tutorial and workshop. Thank you very much. And that ends today's seminar with the Digital Institute's lectures.